Recording. Recording in progress. Okay, so then we can start. We can start a little bit. So, welcome everybody. So nice to see you all. Again, I'm so sorry I cannot be there yet, but soon I hope I can make all the conditions, the constant conditions to come together so I can be in the warm weather of Florida, Not only warm in the sense of the weather, but also in the warmth of the people, because you have been all very, very, very kind to me. So I'm looking forward to be back there. So today we're going to start our teachings on, well, our blah, blah, blah talks, because teachings, I don't know about that, if I can teach anyone. But we're going to talk about Lojong, mind training. That is the topic of today. So I just want to say that I am, for those that don't know me, I am not, the most academical person ever, as probably all the rest of you that know me knows. So you guys gonna have to bear with me and bear with my blah 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 and my confusions and all of that. But the only thing that I can actually say is that I can share with you what I've heard from my teachers, and that is, where is it coming from, whatever I'm saying. So that is to say that you should definitely investigate everything that I say. Don't take it for granted, especially everything that I say. The Buddha used to say, investigate everything I say, but I say especially what I say. Don't get everything, don't get for granted what I say. So, but then we're gonna share, and as I said, to Dawn and to Rebecca, the idea is not for these teachings to just be something that you come and then you just get something and then you don't kind of like use it, and then it's just during this time that we are together. But it's very important that we a very important way of learning, in the Buddhist tradition, is the way of the contemplation. And contemplation, normally we have this sense of contemplation, just like looking to the nothing, or just staying around and looking from the top of a mountain, or just looking at this ocean. And that is a very good contemplation way. But a very important way of contemplating in the Buddhist tradition is actually the debate. So we need to debate, we need to talk, we need to ask, we need to, like check if whatever we are learning and whatever we are actually, understanding, if it makes sense. So then we need to debate between ourselves. So I please, please, please ask you to participate and ask questions. And my mom always says, don't ask only about questions, but ask people to also make considerations and make, give opinions. So please, this is a place for us to share that as well. So if you have any doubts, you can just raise your hand. If you know how to raise your hand in Zoom, there's a way that you can put a little hand or something like this, react, I think there's there, and you can raise your hand. Otherwise, just open your mic and just ask a question. Okay, that is important, so you can feel that there is that space here. And also, I'm gonna give a little bit of homework, and sometimes I'm even gonna bring some questions for us to discuss here together. Okay, that is also important. So having said that, then everything that I said is coming from my teacher, so that means that I am not capable of doing much, but I'm gonna try to follow a text that is called the 8 verses of mind training. So I didn't bring the text together now. I'm not going to send to you yet, because we're going to have a couple of days, a couple of weeks of introduction to Lojong before we start with the text. Okay? So it is important that we first, before we dive into a text and before we start to actually, get into the details and the explanations of the text, that we can first understand how we're going to learn the text and how the text can actually help us. So also these texts I received many commentaries from my teachers, Lama Zopa Rinpoche, His Holiness the Dalai Lama. So I don't feel that I can really teach it, and really but it's just a way to follow a structure so it is for useful for you. Okay? So afterwards, I'm gonna put Don to work, and then once we have the text, he's gonna send to you all the text so you guys can have it when we start using the text. Okay? So that is important. So as one of my teachers, Kundrala Rinpoche, so she's in America right now. Actually, she's in New York, and she always says, if we are spending time together, if our time is not putting to use in a way that is beneficial for us to open our hearts, for us to actually develop our good heart and start to understand a little bit more about our mind and how things exist, then if we don't have this aim or we don't do it in this way, then there's not is a little bit of a waste of time. So that is why it's so important that we always start any activity with a motivation, with intention. That is very important. The thing is that intention and motivation are there all the time, even if we are aware of them or not, if we are consciousness of it. It's just there. But normally we are in the autopilot. Autopilot, the one that is just like when we are flying, we think that the pilot that is flying, but it's actually everything's on autopilot. So it's just there, flying. So it's like this. And normally, if we think about it, if we really start to observe a little bit of our own autopilot, we can start checking, is it the best way to approach things? Is it actually the most beneficial, the most, warm or kind or generous or patient? So we can start to check our motivation, our intention. So that is why it's important that before we come here and then we're going to listen to this blah, blah, blah for the next hour, so that we try to pay attention into our motivation. And once we pay attention to our motivation, then we need to start not only, oh, okay, this is my motivation, but we need to start directing it, because the motivation and the intention is the seed that is going to make that whatever we listen, whatever we talk, whatever we discuss become or brings us to the result that we want. Does it make sense what I'm saying? Yes? Because I talked about intention on Sunday, and that is very important, that we start to think about the intention and the motivation really on a daily basis, right? Not only when we are here, because normally that's what we do, we are very lazy Buddhists. Well, at least me, I don't know you, but we come and then, oh, okay, we're going to do a meditation now, we're going to do a talk, and then I start to think about my motivation. But during my day, nothing. I woke up, I don't think about my motivation. I go to work, I don't think about my motivation. I do this, I don't think about my motivation. Then, not much change, isn't it? No, things don't work so much. And then we say, these Buddhist teachers don't work so much, I go there, I try, I think about intention and all of that when I'm meditating, and then it doesn't work. Of course, we spend 23 hours of our days without paying attention to our motivation or allowing our motivation to be the autopilot that we have now, then of course it doesn't work so much. So doing this motivation before the practices is always a way to train the mind. So we can reprogram, let's say like that, our motivation. Reprogram makes sense, this reprogram, yeah? You guys gonna have a lot of fun with my words, because I invent a lot of things and then I'm like, I don't know if this is a word or not, but then you guys help me, okay? We're gonna have fun on that. So then what happens is that we are reprogramming our mind to actually a motivation that will bring a result, that it brings peace, love, kindness to ourselves and even to others. We can do that. So that is something that if we start to understand, then we start to say, then I want to be very careful and paying more and more attention about my intention. So that is why we need to start doing it, to see from our own experience that these changes, that these motivation actually works. Because I can be here telling you, oh yes, if you think about others, or if you do a motivation that is more kind, more generous, then you receive a benefit from that. But if you don't do it, it just doesn't make any difference to your life. So that is something that is also very important in these teachings and these talks that we're going to do it, is that the idea of this, of Dharma, of the Buddhist teachings, is not something to stay just out there, or something that you eat and stay an intellectual understanding, but it's something for us to use. And to use not only, when we are here during the talks and the teachings, but especially on our daily lives. So everything can become a cause for our own practice. So when you, before you go out of your house to go to your work or to the gym or to whatever you're gonna to do, pedaling, that some of us we do pedaling and some stuff like crazy things like this. So you just think about it. What is my intention for doing that? What is my motivation? Just that. We can use whatever we are doing. We don't need to sit and then go and then like sit in the on our on our cushion and then oh, now I need to think. No, just when you're like doing the shoelaces or about to leave the house, you think about it. What is my motivation for today? What is my motivation for doing that? Oh, so I can be healthy. Oh, so I can be this, so I can be that. Okay, and then how this is going to bring me happiness, right? Because that is the basis of our motivation. The Buddhist path is a path that actually the Buddhist philosophy bring these ideas so clear that the reason why we do whatever we do is because we want to be happy and we don't want to suffer. So if we want to look into our motivations, that's what we need to actually check. We need to check if whatever we are doing is actually bringing us to this more happiness and less suffering. And then we can start checking if the actions following that motivation, if they do bring that result. So I always say that in a way is the purification of our understanding of the motivation, and then adapting the motivation in accordance with the actions that we do is going to bring the result. Does it make sense? Do you understand that kind of, like, as I like to say, it's almost some sort of um, it's almost like the clock, the engine of the thing. If we understand that the motivation is going to influence our body, is going to influence our speech, is going to influence our thoughts, and these will make us then act and say and talk and think in certain ways, and that experience is either going to bring us happiness or suffering, then whatever we are motivating, whatever we are deciding that we want is very important. Does it make sense? Yeah? Okay, very good. So now that we have established that this makes sense, and not because I'm saying so, is because you understood that this makes sense, now let's do a motivation. Let's create that habit to generate a positive motivation. As you see, I took almost half of the class already just to introduce the motivation. But this is important, This is one of the things that I've learned from Lama Zopa Rinpoche, that it was the best, I think was one of my best experiences with Rinpoche, having lunch or dinner or any type of meal with Rinpoche. Rinpoche used to create, a dedication or a motivation sometimes to offer the food. Everybody knew that eating with Rinpoche means eating cold food, because Rinpoche would go and they just stay for sometimes 1 hour dedicating the food or offering the food, just like for all of the sentient beings, all of the ants, all of the animals that in the grains of rice that were killed for this rice to arrive here. And then he would go slowly, all the details, all of the details, and all those people and all of that. So the vastness of the mind of thinking about all of these beings that were necessary for us to just enjoy that meal. That was very special, you know? It was very good for my also my dealing with my attachment to food. As you all know, I'm very attached to food, especially Casamaya food. I love the Mexican food. So I always, I just see the food and I immediately want to jump and eat. And Rinpoche used to go there and then dedicate, and I'm just looking at the food like, huh? And then just like, no, 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 I know, and we need to dedicate like this. So very good. So it's a bit like that with the intention for us. So we need to really check and really try to develop that connection for us to do and to be able to create on our daily basis a sound and meaningful intention and motivation. Okay? So let's just do it for a moment. So I just invite you to, if you want to close your eyes, you can close, or if you want to just be comfortable, just for a few moments, just being present to your body, to wherever you are sitting or lying down. And just become a bit more aware of your own body. And we can just relax if there's any tension that we can feel. But most important now is to actually check our mental state, as I like to call our inner posture, our mental posture. Just checking how we are feeling, which mood we are in right now. Trying to also open some space and give attention to it, becoming aware of it. And from there, wherever we are, however we are feeling or experiencing this moment, we can ask ourselves, okay, what is my intention for joining this blah 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 talk with this strange monk? Why did I want to join these classes that they are called Lojong and mind training? Why do I want to train my mind? Ask yourself for a moment. And if we actually look into this motivation or this intention of ours, and we try to check if this assumption of the Buddhist philosophy makes sense or not, the assumption that maybe the motivation or the intention we have It is because I want to be happy and I don't want to suffer. So try to check if whatever motivation you said you had and this assumption that we are looking for happiness and not suffer makes, if they match, and how they match or not. And maybe we can think, okay, maybe yes, I want to be happy, maybe I don't want to suffer. So may I use this time that I have right now and listening and talking and contemplating about the blah 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 of Cowden. May it bring this result that I want to achieve. May I use it for this goal, for this intention. But we are here, a group of people, so they also have their goals. So maybe we can think, may I also be able to help those people to also achieve their goals? So that is important for us to develop this awareness of not only our intention, our motivation is the only one, and maybe we can expand it to help others to achieve their motivation, their intention, their goals as well. Their goal of happiness and absence of suffering. So with this intention, we try to then bring about that whatever we're going to do and say and might be able to achieve that. Think like this. Okay, so now that we generated that intention, we can start looking into the topic of Lojong, of mind training. That is, Lojong
I think
means
your audio is
Lo
low.
means
Am
mind.
I the
Sorry,
only one
Jack.
that can't hear?
Can you not hear me? Can you hear me, people? Yes? Yeah? Okay. Yes, so you can hear me. Jack, maybe it's something there. Yeah? So if he cannot hear me, then it doesn't matter if I say that to him. So Lojong, so lo means mind and jong means training. Okay? And why did I said let's talk about mind training? Because actually mind training is a part of the Lam Rim. The Lam Rim, everybody's familiar with the Lam Rim? Yes? No? Okay. So Lam means path and Ring means gradual. So that means that the Buddha, out of his incredible compassion, because what the Buddha did is that he was this incredible being, that he was actually a prince in this beautiful place, and then he started to realize that even though he had everything, he was not happy. and he could see suffering, and he wanted to understand the suffering and the causes of the suffering. I always try to say, you know, I think that the princes and the prince and all of the things that the Buddha had in those times, it's not very far from what we have in these times. He had all of these people working for him, all of this food whenever he wanted. It's just like us, you know, all of these beautiful women. So it's just like us. We have a delivery, iFoods or whatever it is that, like, you know, delivery food. We have delivery dating if we want. We have delivery of whatever. We can have whatever, isn't it? So not that far from what the Buddha had in those times. But I don't see us going and checking how we see our own suffering. But that's what the Buddha went, and then he was able to go through a lot of hardship, and then he was able to check what is the reason, the cause for this suffering in the world. He saw so many people suffering because of old old age, because of hunger, because of death, because of being sick, because of even the action of giving birth, and being alive and coming to this world was very painful in some ways. So he said there is something, and even if I have everything, there is this feeling of dissatisfaction. There is that feeling of like something is missing. So the Buddha decided to just find the truth inside of himself, to be able to not depend on external aspects and objects and people and experiences, to find elimination of the suffering. So that was the Buddha did. The Buddha didn't invent anything. He just saw how things worked, and because he understood how things work, he understood that this suffering had a cause. And if we eliminate those causes, then we can actually achieve absence of suffering and happiness. That's it. Simple. We can stop the teaching to understand that, right? Because that's what it is about. Then that's why the Buddha taught for the first time, the first teachings of and recognize what suffering is, and then of the causes of suffering, because the Buddha said if there is suffering, it must have a cause. So the causes of suffering, and the cause of suffering, the Buddha realized that it is actually our own mind and the way our mind works or doesn't work. And then from that, he realized that, oh, if there are causes, if we eliminate those causes, we have a cessation of these. And if we have a cessation of these, that means there must have a path for us to achieve this cessation. So that's what he taught. So this path, it is what we call the lamrim, the path that goes from the suffering state where we are until the full sensation, eliminating the causes and the full cessation of this suffering. So the aim of the path, what we want to achieve at the end, is actually what we call, the elimination, this third noble truth. Is achieving the noble truth of elimination of suffering in our own continuum. The mind, eliminate the causes and the suffering of our own mind. That's what we want to achieve. That is very important that we're clear that that's what we want. So why then the Buddha, the followers of the Buddha became Buddhists? They are called Buddhist. Many people think it's because of a Buddha, because of the name Buddha. Yes, there is. But actually, in Tibetan, the term Buddha means Sangye. And the Buddhist, and the name for Buddhist means Ngapa, which has nothing to do with Sangye. So we think that, oh, because the Buddha, then they follow the Buddha, they are the followers of the Buddha, they are Buddhists. Yes, in some ways that is the overall understanding. But the main important fact that the Buddhists, they are called Buddhists, they are called Ngampa, is because Ngampa means inner being. Inner being means that the way or the methodology that I am gonna look for my own happiness and to eliminate my own suffering is not gonna be outside of myself, but is gonna be turning the attention to my inner world. Does it make sense? Yes? Angela, you are the new guy, so I'm looking at you. You are the thermometer. If you guys are understanding what I'm saying. Yes? Okay. Okay. So you're gonna be my thermometer of like if you guys are understanding, then I am then I'm doing some sort of good job. So that means that the inner path means that we're going to start looking into ourselves. But then inner path would mean that looking inside means what? Opening ourselves, and then looking what we have inside of ourselves. That would not work so much. We are not doctors and it's going to be very painful. So what we need to work, what we need to look into, we need to look into our mind. That's what we need to look. And here it's very important that we start to understand what mind means. Because in Buddhist, mind it's a synonymous of consciousness. And that means that all of our mental activity is the mind. So what do we call mental activity according to the Buddhist philosophy? Thoughts, feelings, emotions, all of this a part of what we call consciousness or what we call mind. That is important. I know most of you already know that. Don listened to this many, many times, so he knows very much. Jack knows this very much, because you guys are tired of listening to this. But it's very important that we understand the basis of what we're going to actually work with in order to transform. Because when we are trying to talk about Lojong, we are talking about transformation or training our mind. And for that, we need to then understand, like, also, why do we need to train our mind? You know? And that is very easy. Why do we go to the gym? Come on. Why do we go to the gym? I know Bob because Bob wants to become even more handsome than he's already is. So he wants to go to the gym because he wants to become even more handsome. But why normally we go to the gym? Who wants to say something? Come on,
To get stronger.
I actually go to the gym to make sure that I take care of my heart.
Yes. So because of health. Angela, you were going to say something?
To get stronger.
To get stronger. Exactly. So then we already have, and we need to get stronger so we can have a stronger body and then we can be healthy, as Bob said. Right? Someone wants to say something else?
Develop
No?
the muscles.
Develop the muscles. Exactly, because we need the muscles, to sustain our bodies. So we need them, functioning. And then all of that makes sense because we understand that these in some ways will benefit us, right? Isn't it? We do that because we understand this is going to benefit us. That's why we go to the gym. That is the problem with me. I haven't understood that yet, so I don't go to the gym, and that's why I'm like lazy and fat and all of that, because I don't understand these things. But then if you think about it, why then we don't train our minds? Because if we start to understand, maybe we already started to understand that when we are stressed, when we are burnout, nowadays a lot of burnout going on, a lot of stress going on. Or when we are anxious, when we are worried, when we are depressed, we are not happy, we are not benefiting ourselves when we are in these mental states. Right? Isn't it? We already can say that. You don't need Buddhist or these crazy Buddhist monk telling you this. You all know, when you are kind of like depressed, when you are anxious, when you are worried, when you are burnout, stressed, you're not well, you're not happy. You're not, having a good time. You're not benefiting yourself. So why don't we think or we give attention to our mental state, our mental health, the same way that we give to our body health? So that is what the Buddhist philosophy and the Buddhist path can actually help us. Because the main focus is on developing the mind, training the mind, so the mind can benefit us. And benefiting us means not only finding, a little bit of happiness for, 5 minutes, just instant happiness as we have all the, in everything that we do. Just very fleeting. Fleeting, is that a good word? Fleeting type of happiness? Yes? Not like that. The mind, the more we understand and the more we start to train it and observe it and analyze it, we can understand that the mind has the potential to give us bliss and happiness and be well all the time. That is what the Buddha is actually selling us. That is their selling pitch, is that we can achieve happiness all the time. But then we have this tendency of saying, oh, but like ups and downs are part of life, isn't it? We say that. We say ups and downs are part of life. The Buddhist teachings are going to say it's a part of a sick life. When you are healthy, when you actually achieve a healthy state of mind, you don't have these ups and downs that we have nowadays. And we all know the roller coaster of mind states that we have. No, we wake up in a certain way, and then we go through the day, and then it goes up and down, blah, 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 and then someone calls, and then something happens, and then we are driving, and then someone cuts in front of us, and then someone says something, and then our partners starts to say blah, 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 and then we, blah, 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 and then the boss, and then this, and then we go to the grocery store, and there's this huge line, everything's against me. We know these things. Yeah, you recognize this. So all of these, it's clear and easy for us, if we start to use it and see it in this way, that our minds are a little bit uncontrolled right now, right? We are a little bit kind of like with not so much control of what is going on in our mind, and therefore we have these ups and downs. But the Buddhist point of view is that we can cut these ups and downs, and we can actually find a lasting, peaceful type of happiness. A mental state where there is no more suffering. And suffering here, we're going to talk more and more in the next few days, in the next few classes, is also not only just like mental, just physical suffering, but especially mental suffering. All of our attachments. What are the mental sufferings that we have? The way that the Buddhist philosophy says, is that they are called disturbing emotions. These are the main causes of our suffering. But what do it mean, disturbing emotions? Their name is already there, disturbing. What they are disturbing? The peace of mind. And what are these disturbing emotions? Well, all our very good friends: attachment, anger, depression, low self-esteem, jealousy, pride, all of these negative mind states that we all go through our day. Do you recognize them? Do you know them? Yes? Okay, so good, because then I'm not the only one here. So, we can start checking and observing that these mental states, they disturb our peace of mind. But if the Buddhists say, oh, you can live without them, then that is very interesting to actually start learning more about it. Because that means that if it is true and I put into practice what the Buddhist teachings are saying, then if I can achieve that state, then that makes it very interesting and beneficial for me to think that it's good to train my mind. We need to develop. What I'm trying to pitch for you is that why do you have, or why would you like to actually, train your mind? Because the Buddhist path says that there is this state, this mental state without these disturbing emotions. A mental state that we can all in some ways recognize sometimes. I hope that we are not angry 24/7. We all know that sometimes, we can stay angry 24/7, especially when our partners does that little thing that we really makes us, and then we can be with that in the mind for maybe not only a few hours, but maybe a few years, of that. They did that again. That thing that we do it sometimes, or people in our lives that because they did that to me, they told me this, and then we get angry. Every time we think about that person, that anger comes up, that feeling of these people. So that is, can you imagine the possibility of living without those minds? And we do live without those minds sometimes, especially when some aspects of our lives are there, especially when the example I always like to say is when we are very happy for the happiness of someone else. Do you know that feeling? When someone in your family, someone of a friend, or someone they got what they wanted. That's why, like I always say, weddings are so emotional, because we are so happy for the happiness of someone else. And that really creates a sense of expansion, of happiness, of pleasure, isn't it? Do you understand? Do you recognize that as well? Because you all were very emphatic, and emphasizing when you were like recognizing the negative parts. But do you recognize the good ones as well? Do you? Angela, do you? Okay, good. Our thermometer is there, so she says, so she understands, so she's good. So this is very important, because these two recognitions that we are talking about is the goal of the Buddhist path in a way. It is the goal of what I'm pitching to you for training your mind. It is to achieve this mental state, which is not only free of all the suffering, all of these negativities, all of these disturbing emotions, which already sounds amazing, but also to be able to perfect our minds so we can achieve these incredible good mental states that we already have in a stable way. That is amazing. Do you understand? So these two aspects are the two most important aspects of what defines a Buddha. So a Buddha is nothing else but our own mind achieving these two states. These two states. A state of no more disturbing emotions, and a state of perfection, of pure happiness and peace all the time. Does it make sense? Sounds good? I don't know, but for me, sounds very good. That's why I left my my finance work in the financial markets and asset managing and all of that, because I believed in that. I said, and I started to taste it, and I said, wow, it works. you know I don't have money, but I'm happy. Something like that. You think such a thing. But it's not about that, because you start to really experience for yourself. And that is why it's so important that we start to really check in our own experiences and not just believe what this crazy monk is saying. You check. wow, wait a minute. It is true. When I am with my open heart, when I'm this, I'm much more happier and calm. And you have a good time with family. You are in a good moment. You're in a good mood, But when I am disturbed and all of this, I'm suffering. I'm having blah, and I'm not. It tastes bad in the mouth, literally, isn't it? And of course, the other aspect of the negative emotions is that the negative emotions, they also bring suffering to our own bodies, right? If you start to check, you actually, even you can go to the gym, you can do this, but then you have, you're an angry person and you are like, keeping that anger, you're still suffering. And then the heart is having problems and things, all of that because also of not checking the mind. Because the body and the mind are not completely independent, they are interdependent. So our mental state will influence our body as well. And it's the same if we cultivate positive mental states and then we cultivate, this feeling of openness, of kindness, and all of that. We can also feel how it affects positively our bodies, isn't it? We have more energy, we go to the gym with more, more wish to go and all of that. So that brings us to understanding like, oh, okay. So if Calden is saying that the Buddhist assumption is that we can achieve a state of mind that it can be completely free from suffering. Why is that true? Because suffering, they have causes. And if we eliminate these causes, then they don't come up anymore. This is one reasoning. Second reasoning, why it is maybe possible to achieve a state of mind without any suffering. Well, because we are not with these disturbing emotions 24/7. So that means if they are not 24/7 in our mind, that means they are not an inherent, essential part of our mind. It means that they are adventitious. Is that a word, or am I inventing that? Adventitious, yes, is a good word. Means that they come and they go. Is that what it means? Adventitious? Yes. Wow, I'm super smart. My English is very good. I'm loving how these things sometimes they come to my mind, these big words that I don't even know where they come from. I don't even know their meaning. But that is what it means. It means that they are not an inherent part. And that is very special if we start to think about it. Because if they are not an inherent part of the mind, that means that they don't need to stay all the time. So that means that they come because of cause, they arise because of something is touching them. It's like there's only fire if there is a, how do you say that, a spark, right? We need to make a spark in order to have a fire. So, we need to check where is the spark, what are the conditions. But only spark is not only enough. We need to also have fuel, and we need to have air. So there are many conditions involved into something to arise. It's the same with these negative emotions, these disturbing emotions. So that's what we're going to try to observe more and more in the next few weeks. So this is a few reasons why, we can actually start developing. But the other one is to say, as we said, that, if I actually can, and this is also a very important part because sometimes we miss this part when we are talking about, the training the mind, is that, wait a minute, if I am, when I am happy for someone, for a friend, for my partner, for my children, for my parents, when I have that feeling of, of a good feeling, a spacious mind, a kind heart, a warm heart, and I feel good, that means if I can do that for 1 minute, I have the potential to do that all the time. It's there. The potential is there. Make sense? So that is something very important as well that we cannot Forget. Because normally we have the tendencies when we start to go for a spiritual path, for a philosophy, is that we just want to eliminate the bad things of myself. We go even to therapy thinking, oh, I just need to eliminate all the bad things. I have bad habits and all of that. Yes, that is one of the ideas and one of the paths, one of the how can I say, the wings of the airplane that is going to bring us to to this enlightenment state. But only that, not enough. We also need to check that all of these good qualities, this good heart, this everything that we already have, because we are good people, we can develop into a unconditional, unlimited, and all the time experience. Does it make sense? Yes? That we need to also cultivate in our mind. We need to want that, and we need to believe in that. Because if we can love one person, we can love everyone. I know it's hard, especially sometimes when we talk about, people and family, and especially when we talk about politics and all of this. It's hard, that we can love everybody. But we can, because if we have the possibility of loving one person, we have the possibility of loving others. So that what we need to develop, that understanding, that wish, and that kind of like say, I can. Yes, we can. Yes, I can do that. We need to develop that. We need to develop that kind of like the intention. We need to create and purify and nourish and develop more and more their intention in ourselves. So these are the two aspects that we can do. This is the goal. This is what we want to do, to achieve. And these, when we achieve that state of no more suffering and eliminating the causes of this suffering, and when we perfect it and we completely, in an unconditional, unlimited, and all the time way, have our qualities, that mind, that mental state, that consciousness, when it achieves that, is a state of a Buddha. So a Buddha is not something out there, is not someone, but is actually our own potential. That is what we call Buddha nature. We all have a potential to become a Buddha. It's just a mental state, nothing else. We don't need, thankfully, you all can be smart and not, think that you need to shave your hair and put strange clothes to become a Buddha, not like this. You can actually develop, we all can develop our minds into this state. So that is something that is very special if we think. That is something that we really, if we understand that, it gives us the wow, I want to do that. I want to really engage myself into hardships and to, like, doing and meditating and contemplating and studying and doing what I have to achieve that. Does it make sense? If I don't think that I can actually benefit from doing sports, or if I can like lose weight by doing sports, I won't do it. Right? If I don't see the benefit, I normally don't do something. We don't have that drive, that wish, that kind of like, driven energy. But when we see the benefit, we are very good at doing things. Look at that. Look at the world. We've done incredible things already, right? We created so many incredible things in the engineer or medical advance, and so many in technology. I can be sitting here and then you can be sitting anywhere you are, and then we can talk and see each other. It's just incredible. So whatever we put our minds to, we actually can achieve. That is something that we need to understand. And we need to believe, and we need to not to believe on a blind faith. We need to believe by investigate our own experience and say, oh, wait a minute, that's true. I actually achieved that, right? And this is in a very small way, or like superficial way of understanding it. Maybe all of you here have a degree, a university degree or something, or you study something, and you know because you put it your mind into that, because you believe you could do it, and then you went and you created the causes and the conditions, and you became that. Maybe some of you are doctors, some are lawyers, and engineers, and communications, and like an accounting, and so many things that people do it. Nurses and psychologists and so many things. So that means, that proves to us, to ourselves, our own potential, that if we want and we create the conditions and the causes and we move towards, we can achieve that. So that means that if we believe and if we want and we create the causes and conditions, we can achieve an enlightened state, a state of a Buddha. Does it make sense? Yes? That is important. Is the pitch deck today's pep talk and pitch deck talk. So you can see if I'm gonna see you next week or not, because maybe you guys gonna say, oh no, that one I cannot hear anymore. But maybe I'm gonna say something that is might say to you, is the carrot, so we're gonna not use carrot because we are definitely much more attached to chocolate. So I'm gonna bring chocolate to you next time and say, let's have chocolate. If you all come next time when I'm in Florida, we're gonna have chocolate together. So that's how we're gonna do it. But that's what we need to do. We need to use the mind we have today to actually move and makes us go forward into transforming ourselves. Is that what we can? So that's why, in a way, that is the basis, or the idea of, that we can train our minds. We can. And we need to believe that we can. We just gave so many possibilities of why we can train our minds, because we have that possibility of actually training our minds. That means that, I if I put the necessary conditions, these will arise. The result will come together. That is very important. So, but then we need to develop more and more their understanding of these two aspects, right? We need to really analyze in details, why suffering and how suffering works, and because how I can actually do that, so I can actually understand how the negative emotions arise, how these disturbing emotions disturb myself. Because if I don't actually look into this, then it's gonna be like me, I think I only went to the gym once in my life. I paid for 1 month and I went one day and I never went back again. It's like this. It's like Lama Yeshe, one of our teachers, he used to say that, we Westerners, we in the beginning, we are very, oh yes, Buddhism and Dharma and the Buddhist teachings are very interesting, very good, and all of that. But then things become difficult because we need to wake up early. It's like going to the gym. We need to maybe wake up early. We need to do this. We need to sit down and we need to meditate and we need to be here listening to blah, blah, blah talk from Cowden. And then becomes too complicated, too difficult, and then we give up. So, unfortunately, or fortunately in some ways, the path is not, there's no magic pill. There's no instant enlightenment. Not like this. Not possible. There's no insta food, insta date, insta whatever. There's no instant enlightenment. So I don't know if this is good or bad. I think it's good, because otherwise life would be so boring. But now we have something to do with our life, something useful. So we can actually, use the time we have. We can use the body we have. We can use the intelligence we have. We can use our lives, whatever it is, so we can actually develop ourselves. So we can develop ourselves into really wanting to achieve this state. But then one of the most important aspects for this Buddhahood to achieve is actually starting slowly to understand that whatever we do, whatever we want, whatever we kind of like, enjoy in our lives right now, all of this is completely interdependent with others. Let's see if Angela can understand what I'm talking about. Let's see if I'm going to be doing a good job. Because what does it mean? It means that if we think only about our own enlightenment and me being free from suffering and me being happy all the time, we won't achieve these two things. So then what does it mean, Calvin? Are you saying that you just told me that I need to think about these things, and now you're telling me, if I only think about this, then I'm not going to achieve? Well, because the most important part is that to understand that to achieve this, we need to understand our interdependence with others. So what it means that the same way that we want happiness and we want to achieve these two states. And if you think about it, because we said in the beginning that the Buddhist assumption is that we want to be happy and we don't want to suffer. And that is the Buddhist, that is the definition of enlightenment, not suffering and happiness all the time, isn't it? So if we're saying that this is our basic assumption, and not only us, all beings, all human beings, all animals, they also want that. That means that when we are only thinking about our own happiness, we are not paying attention to the happiness of others. And for us to evolve and to walk on this path, in order to study, in order to contemplate, in order to meditate, in order to do all of the things that we need in order to achieve these two states of no more suffering and full happiness, we need others. Right? We need others on a very, superficial level, but we need others, for example, to eat. If we don't have people planting, if we don't have animals, if we don't have all of the supermarkets, we don't have all this chain to arrive just the food on our plates, if we don't have that chain of someone that I can go and I can buy raisins to have with my porridge every morning, right, Jack? Then I cannot be happy. I can't. But not only that, I cannot even be alive. Isn't it? But not only this, is that if I then need, in order to be able to, learn more and all of that, I need to be on a computer and I need to have internet in order to be able to see the blah, blah, blah and listen to blah, blah, blah of Cowden. I need someone that knows how to create internet, because I have no idea how to do that. Maybe some of you know. But actually, everything that we need in order to follow our path is interdependent of others. Does it make sense that? Can you understand that? That the reason why all of you are sitting comfortably now in our air conditioning is because someone invented air conditioning. Because I don't think any of us here did that, did we? We didn't. I didn't even know. I can just, even sometimes to press the button of the air conditioner, I make mistakes. So can you imagine just inventing something? So all of these, we need to understand that is dependent on others. And for others, I'm just talking in a very superficial and kind of mundane and material way. But think about, how can I practice kindness, love, compassion if there's no others? How can I practice, patience, which is the antidote of my anger, if I don't have someone that is driving me nuts so I can practice patience? So I need others, even on an emotional way, to train our mind. Does it make sense? Yes? So then it would be too selfish, and not only selfish, but it wouldn't kind of like work. Because if I don't think about others, if I don't think about the benefit, if I don't think about also helping others, others won't help me, isn't it? So I won't be able to achieve what I want. So that is one of the main purpose of mind training, is to shifting this perception of ourselves that we are independent, self-existing, you know, that we don't need anyone to be happy, that I don't need anyone to achieve what I want. I just go, I do it, I make money and I buy, and I'm buying with my money. You don't even know how to print money. You don't even know how to make, credit cards and all of that. All of this because of others, isn't it? But we don't have this mind. We think we go to a supermarket, we go to a restaurant, I am paying with my money. Someone is giving you this money as well. You are working, but someone is giving you that, isn't it? Can you understand that? That interdependence, that we are depending on each other. So the more we open our minds for that understanding of the interdependence, the more we can actually develop a wish of wanting to help others to also be happy. So the happiness of others starts to become important to me, because these beings and these people, they are the ones that are already helping me now and will continue to help me until I achieve this enlightened state, this Buddha state, isn't it? Angela, makes sense what I'm trying to say? Yes? Okay. So that is very important, because this is going to be the main aim of these teachings that we're going to do about the mind training. The mind training is going to be specifically, especially, to transform our minds into the mind that we have now, that only thinks 100% of the time into only three people: me, myself, and I. And we start to open our hearts and thinking and using our body, our speech, and our own minds into also helping others to be happy. Okay? That is going to be the main focus of the mind training of the Lojong. And the text is really about that. How to develop that wish, to transform that wish of not only thinking about myself, me, myself, and I, but to think about others. Okay? Any questions, comments, or considerations? Bob is very quiet today. So I think that's he's paying attention or not.
I am paying attention, and I do have a question.
Yeah, now we're talking about.
Okay. So, I also spend time in Lake Worth at that Dharma Center when
Yeah.
Kempo is here visiting.
Yes.
And Kempo talks about the disruption of the mind.
Disruption of the mind.
The disruption of the mind, meaning that don't allow the mind to control your journey.
Yes.
Don't let the mind be the driver of the bus.
Yes.
Where does that fit into your perspective?
Absolutely the same. Is the when he's talking about the mind not being the driver of the bus, he's saying in a superficial level the autopilot that we have now,
Right.
which is based on being controlled by our disturbing emotions, right?
So when you say
Our,
controlling the mind, you're saying disrupt the mind.
yes, in a way, disrupt the mind, I'm talking about two things. I'm talking about, oh, how can we control the mind? We can control the negative aspects that the mind now as it is have and eliminate them. You understand? And just allow the purity and the clarity and the good qualities that the mind have to expand and just allow them to be. So that is the idea. You know,
Just
when
the
we talk
transformation.
the transformation, which is in a way based on, you know, when he's saying, don't let the mind kind of like be the driver of the bus, is that idea, because the mind that we have now is our selfish mind, you know, and disturbed by these negative emotions. These two things are the ones that are mainly driving the bus. You know, so that mind, because that is why it's difficult sometimes, that mind, we don't want it to continue being the bus driver, right? So what
Right.
we want to eliminate that. But the mind in itself has these inner qualities that right now they are completely limited and conditioned by these limiting factors of selfishness and the disturbing emotions. So once we eliminate them, we can develop these in unconditional and unlimited ways. That is the idea. Does it make sense?
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Any other questions or considerations? Deb, yes, please.
Yeah, when you were talking earlier about the state of peacefulness and joy and bliss, how do we diminish looking for specific conditions like going, watching the sunset, or like it's usually that there's like this sense that we need an external condition
Yes.
to either stimulate it or be the source of that. So and then the whole day is like, oh, this person will give me recognition, or I could during a break get to the ocean. Or I guess it's sort of like, and I know that those are temporary external situations, but it almost is very like seductive of.
Mm-hmm. Yes, that's perfect. This is exactly what it is right now. We know we normally that's what is happening to us. We are just kind of like believing, right? We are totally letting the bus driver like drive us to these external objects as the source of this happiness.
Yes.
So this is exactly what we're gonna kind of like do by training our minds and by doing these teachings, is to understand that, oh, actually the happiness is not there.
Mm.
The happiness is not gonna be if we are having the most beautiful sunset or not. So I'm saying to you, stop watching the sunset. No, I'm saying to you, when you actually observe and realize that you are looking for happiness in the sunset, you use that to realize that, oh, I just wanting to be happy, but I'm thinking that the sunset brings that. But actually, it's a mental state, it's a state of mind. So I need to also check my mental state. And let's check that if I don't see the sunset, can I still develop that feeling of satisfaction within myself? Because in a way, we can, right? But the problem is that right now we are so used to having to have those external things. We believe we are completely deluded, cheated by this idea. So we need to see that this idea is a cheating idea. You know, it's like, I'm almost saying it's a shitty idea, but that's the point. It is, you know, but it is a cheating, is cheating us and not giving us what we can do, because here is the source, not outside. So that's what we're going to need to understand. By understanding more and more the mind, and we're going to talk in the next few weeks. So I truly hope that we can finish the text, because they are only 8 verses. But you all know me that I don't stop talking, but I hope that we are going to be able to finish those 8 verses. But if we understand the way that the mind works, you know, we will start to understand, oh, okay, you know, that's how when these driven energy of looking for happiness outside comes up, means my autopilot comes up, what can I do to stop it? Oh, I need to have, you know, understanding. I need to dialogue with it and seeing, you know, from different points of view that this is not true, right? That happiness is not in the sunset. That is one aspect of it. And then the second aspect is like seeing that this is in my mind, that I can achieve that in my mind. You understand? So we
Yeah,
need to
thank
do
you.
both things. Both things. Yeah?
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, dear. Anyone else before we stop? I'm gonna try because, you know, as I'm not there, when I'm there, maybe it's easier. But like as I'm not there, I'm gonna try to keep it a little bit shorter, you know, than 1.5 hours. Maybe, you know, today is almost 1 hour and 20, but maybe 1 hour and 15 minutes or something like this, so it doesn't become too tiring as well for you. Okay, but we do have homework for you. We do have homework for you because that is very important. So the homework is for us to start asking ourselves. Just ask yourself, can I train my mind to be happy and to not suffer? Just that. Use every experience, every day, all the moments of your day, you try to ask yourself your questions. Become like a mantra. Can I train my mind to be happy or not? And let's see what comes up. You know? Just see, especially when you're angry, driving, you're hungry or whatever, ask yourself that, wait a minute, can I train myself to not suffer? And can I train myself to be happy? Just that. Ask yourself. Not much complicated, not, you know, big things, big philosophical ideas, but no, just simple. And check the benefit of it or not. And then next week, we're going to start with that, okay? You're not going to be sitting down on your comfortable couch and air conditioning and just doing nothing. You guys need to, you know, move. Like, it's like what is the name? How do we call that? When you go to a boot camp. This is mental training boot camp, Buddhist boot camp. So we're gonna put you to work, you know? So not just like sitting and then it's like we go to the gym and you just go and watch the people doing exercise. No, not like here. Not in here. Here we're gonna do it to work. Okay? So thank you so much. I hope that some of these blah 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 was in any way beneficial, in any way, you know, helpful, and you try to keep your mind as best as possible in the homework. And you know, and then slowly we're going to develop more about the understanding of the mind and how we can train it, so we can go into the path, into the text, understanding how we're going to do that, okay, into more details. So that's the idea. Thank you so much. See you on Sunday. We have teachings on Sunday again. So I see you on Sunday, and it's very good if you can go to the center, because over there we're going to do discussion groups, and you know, and we can kind of like have that discussion, which is also super important. Listening to others and discussing with others our own opinions. Best way to see our self-cherishing and disturbing emotions. Best way to do it. So I see you on Sunday. Okay?
Thank
I'll be
you.
out of town on Sunday. I'll see you the following Sunday.
Okay, another excuse. Okay. Last week was a birthday, so I'm keeping track, huh?
I
Don't
can't
worry.
help it. I can't help it. No, I was there last Sunday. I
I make it
interrupted the
funny.
birthday. I was there. I was there.
I know, dear.
Okay.
Thank you
Thank you.
so much. See you
Thank you.
Sunday.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Good
Thank
night.
you.
Bye.
Thank
Bye.
you. Bye.
Let me stop the recording.